The FBI said that he was extremely naive about the legal process and for some reason thought that he would just be able to get an execution date within a few months, like even before he went to trial. And his trial wasn't set until almost a year after he was arrested.
I want this whole thing done in a year from today, start to finish, basically. If I can't get an execution date within a year, you know, I'll tell you about everything. I'll give you plead guilty to whatever. I'll give you every single gory detail you want. But that's what I want, because I want my kid to have a chance to grow up. You know, she's in a safe place now. She's not going to see any of this. I want her to have a chance to grow up and not have all this hanging over her head.
There were also some requests that he had that weren't necessarily demands, but they were things that he wanted to make his life easier in prison, and he had a lot to trade for it, and he knew that. There were 11 victims, and the FBI was trying to suss out information about all of them, and Keyes tried to play that against them. When he met with them, he wanted cigars, and he wanted the New York Times peanut butter Snickers bars and Americanos. In return for his demands, he told the FBI that he had, quote, lots more stories to tell. Investigators had long conversations with Keyes, trying to get him to name other victims and explain his life and learn about the kind of man that they were dealing with and understand his habits and patterns, learn who his friends were and where and when he would travel. Keyes talked about his upbringing and explained that he was two different people.
I would do something, and then I would go back like business as usual and go out with friends, go out to bars, talk to them, see people, and it was all like a mind game for me. That was all I needed. That was my adrenaline. That's where I got my kicks, I guess, was being able to live two different lives and have no one have a clue. And some of the guys I would work with, they'd like to talk shit about how dumb criminals are, and they would talk about this news story or that news story, and I rarely would talk about stuff, and I rarely would drink very much when I was hanging out with friends because I'd be afraid I'd start talking about stuff. So, but that's always how I got my kicks, I guess, was just being able to look at people while they were talking to me and thinking that, for all the years they've known me, they actually don't know me at all, really. And that's why I could go a relatively long time before feeling like I had to, before getting bored, I guess, and doing something.
How long is that generally?
I'm not gonna say.
I tried.
After news of his crimes broke, many people who knew him, including family members and his girlfriends, were in shock. They almost all described him as being a quiet, nice person.
This is just, I don't see him, doing... It's just, I know you can't tell me, it's just so frustrating.
Well, this is, and I've been doing this long enough to know that there's been times where I've actually had wives go, no possible way on earth, and then when you show them the evidence later, they're like, oh my God. And then they start coming up with, oh, I did see this at one point, or I did see that at one point, and it just kind of didn't see that, it just something that brushes over your head while you're not believing it. It's happened more times than I care to talk about, because I've been doing this for over 15 years, and it's just not some people just don't know people as well as they think they do, unfortunately. It's strange.
Do you think somebody could change so much? I mean, he's always been a really good guy, That's why I stayed with him for as long as I did.
I think we find it pretty odd that he would be involved in anything like this.